What's up, everybody? Wanted to play this. Listen to this.
And why this is coming up, especially today, right? Because we've now gotten this announcement that Pete Hegseth has fired a bunch of top generals, right?
That is why President Trump has drawn a new strategic map from Greenland to the Gulf of America to the Panama Canal and its surrounding countries. At the Department of War, we call this strategic map the Greater North America. Why? Because every sovereign nation and territory north of the equator, from Greenland to Ecuador and from Alaska to Guyana, is not part of the global south. It is our security perimeter in this great neighborhood that we all live in. Each one of these countries border either the North Atlantic or the North Pacific.
So, what they're talking about, this, oh my God, I can't believe I'm living through this. Here's something else somebody wrote. I love this. Pete Kegsbreath's comment about making a greater North America sent chills down my spine because of what I know about the history of the last century in another part of the world. I have a collection of Japanese militaria, specifically sake cups. One of the ones I own from the 1930s has a map on it that shows Japan, the Korean Peninsula, and part of China. It is labeled with characters that translate as Greater Japan. The road our regime is on leads to nowhere we should go. I cannot believe this. And it's not just Trump. It's not. There is something going on, guys. Even Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz, is talking about we need to take Greenland.
President Trump is exactly right that it is overwhelmingly in the national security interest and the economic interest of America to acquire Greenland.
They're literally talking about invading an ally and taking their land. And it's not just Trump. It's other people within the, call it the deep state, call it the bureaucracy, the military and industrial complex, whatever you want to call it. There's all these different factions within that group that game plan all this kind of stuff. Remember General Wesley Clark? He talked about this kind of stuff back in 2005, where he basically said that when he went to the Pentagon after 9/11, he asked them what their plans were, and they were talking about they're going to take over Iraq. This is around roughly between 2001 and 2005 timeframe. You can go look up that video of his. I'll try to find it and put it in the comments. But this guy was a general, retired general. He was running, or was going to run, I think he ran in the primary for the Democratic Party for president of the USA. And so this guy's like no kook, right? But he's just like, I can't believe he never got charged for this, because he basically talked about the plans they had back then 20 years ago that is playing out now. He talked about how they were going to take over Iraq. And this is what he was being told by the Pentagon people he knew when he went in to go talk to them. And Clark said, and I think it was on a Democracy Now interview with him. I can't remember exactly what the forum was. But anyway, he said they were going to take Iraq. Then they were going to take 7 Arab countries like Libya, Syria. I can't remember all of them. Yemen. But the last one they were going to take was Iran. So this isn't just Trump, guys. This is something more evil going on.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. made the decision to go to war with Iraq. He said, I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we got a good military and we can take down governments. And he said, I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail. So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? And he said, oh, it's worse than that. He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran. Piece of paper. He
Listen to that. Finishing off with Iran.
I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
This is also another interesting part here.
The truth is about the Middle East is, had there been no oil there, it would be like Africa. Nobody is threatening to intervene in Africa. The problem is the opposite. We keep asking for people to intervene and stop it. And there's no question that the presence of petroleum throughout the region has sparked great power involvement. Whether that was the specific motivation for the coup or not, I can't tell you, but there's always been this attitude that somehow we could intervene and use force in the region.
We're in a lot of trouble. We really are. These people, they're insane. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Peace out.